Good afternoon, New Orleans. Listen, I'm sitting here in the mayor's office. I'm with our CAO, Mr. Gilbert Montaño. We have been doing a lot of listening over the course of the months, but particularly as we gear up for budget season. We have to submit our 2019 budget to the New Orleans City Council on or before November the 1st. But before we do that, we've spent extra time just listening again at that bottom, so to ensure that it bubbles up right here to the mayor's office. We have some questions that I know that have been posed for us, and we'll go through this afternoon answering those questions. So this is really mostly like an information session that we're having this afternoon. So thank you for joining.
My name is Eileen Carter, and I'm the Social Media Director for the City of New Orleans. And we want to make sure that you are involved in this Tell Cantrell campaign. So right now, go to your phone and text City of Yes to 504-608-5441. That is 504-608-5441. You can also participate in this campaign on Wednesday, October 10th at 5:30 for districts D and E. We will continuing our budget listening sessions. You can call in directly at 866-785-1533. I'm now going to direct the conversation to our CEO, Gilbert Montaño, and he will discuss our budget process.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Eileen. One of the most important and meaningful priorities for the administration is certainly the crafting and the development of our budget. Day one, May 8th, was one of the first meetings the mayor and I began to have over the course of time in discussion of our budget. New Orleans is a large and complex government with many moving parts, a lot of fluidity when it comes to how we're organizing and managing our budget. Currently, we oversee about 37 different departments. Our general fund is about $686 million, and our total budget is about $1.1 billion. All over, spread out throughout the city, that impacts, of course, the taxpayers on a day-to-day basis. So we want to make sure that we've been thoughtful and as pragmatic as we possibly could be in designing and crafting the budget. And most importantly, as the mayor suggested, with hearing from the constituents on a not only just a day-to-day basis, but work at night, any situation that we're listening. How the process typically works, I meet as CAO with each one of the 37 different departments, and they present their budget. What's unique and what the mayor's articulated over the last couple years, usually those budgets have been shifted and augmented the way any kind of household income would be with your bills and things of that nature. However, for the last couple of years, we've seen a couple of flat budgets. So coming in May, when we're at, a good budget process should take an entire year. We've had to consolidate from May 7th to where we are now. And because of that, we have not been able to do a deeper dive, as I know the mayor would want and instructed her team to do, and really uncover and make sure that our appropriations are accurate to the actual expenditures of our department. That is our plan. But backwards into 2019, we need to make sure that we are focused on the most important issues as it relates to the budget, and that's always, as the mayor directs, our public safety, our people, our infrastructure needs, all the other major economic development indicators that we have to make sure and bolster as a successful community and a successful city. Then after I meet with each one of those departments, the mayor and I are in conversations almost on a day-to-day basis. I'll come and check with her and let her know what's going on and what we're doing. We've reached out and talked with many of the city councils. I've testified in front of their hearings on multiple occasions talking about where we are and what's coming up and what's bubbling up. It's a very inclusive process. It's a very fluid process as well. It changes as you can just mirror your own incomes and your own bills, and sometimes one month is up, one month is down. A city budget's very similar to that, except with much, much larger numbers in many cases. So wanted to at least try to explain that part of it. Now we will submit the budget on or before November 1st as we're finalizing, getting the final picture of our revenue and our expenditure side. And from there, the City Council will host their hearings and we'll be presenting more deliberately, and we look forward to final adoption on December 1st. What we can say, and I think the mayor will guarantee, is we will balance. We will have a successful budget position, and we feel confident with the mayor's leadership to ensure that we're watching our resources as if they're our own and trying to run the city as best as much like a business as we possibly can when it comes to the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. That was a great education on the budget. You gave me information I didn't even know. So directly to the citizens' questions. Again, these questions came directly from you. If you would like to participate in the Texas In outreach, please text City of Yes to 504-608-5441. Again, that is 504-608-5441. First question, Gilbert and Mayor. Living in the French Quarter, they have had trash left on the street every single day. They want to know, how can we add more recycling and garbage bins?
Right, so what I'll start with is that this is really what Clean Up NOLA is all about, cleaning up our city, and of course eliminating the trash and the debris that we see on the streets, and of course the French Quarter. Not only do you host residents, you host the millions of visitors that come to the city of New Orleans. And so what we've done is focused on our contractors, even that are hired to service the French Quarter, and having them double down on their efforts to the point where they're now cleaning those bollards. That was a big deal that came out of from different residents in the quarter, and you know, they had graffiti and they had stickers on them. And so I got a photo last night from our infrastructure team that our first bollards were cleaned up, so it's a step. But to answer your question, a part of Clean Up NOLA is putting trash cans as well as recycle bins on the street. So we've heard you, and we do plan to meet you again where you are with that trash. Gilbert, anything to add?
You know, I think just to add, I think that we're not only are we focused on the French Quarter on our Clean Up NOLA initiative, but some of the factors you'll see in the budget upcoming is a large investment in the overall Clean Up NOLA campaign, and part of that includes a place to put the trash and ensuring that you know, there are opportunities, and that's the opening of a transfer station, so that people no longer have to drive many miles to dump their trash. We're trying to make it convenient, and we're trying to make it part of people's lifestyle. It's a habit to be able to put your trash in the right spot, and hopefully the environment we set through some of our investments will inhabit just that.
And I'm so glad Gilbert mentioned the transfer station, because that has been a huge deal. Currently, our people have had to go outside of Orleans Parish to dump. And this is associated with redevelopment projects, homes being renovated, you name it. But it's ending up on vacant lots in all of our neighborhoods, and it is a mess. So with this transfer station coming back to the city of New Orleans, and we're putting money into it, then this should eliminate blight, pretty much dumping grounds throughout the city. And we are installing over 10 crime cameras in key areas identified by the residents to, again, catch these folks who are dumping in our community. So it's unacceptable. Enforcement is coming.
Well, I know the residents were really excited about Clean Up NOLA, so we're going to roll into our next question. How will we maintain the NOPD recruit classes and offer NOPD offers the pay increase that was passed for previous years?
Sure. So one of the challenges really for forecasting for 2019 was one-time money that was put in to increase the pay raises for our police officers. But recognizing that we could not stop, and we're making it a priority to increase the budget for public safety so that we can continue to provide equity as it relates to our police officers and our force. So don't worry. We are going to continue to invest in our officers as well as grow our police force. So those will be budgeted for, and I say there's no room to worry there.
No, I think the mayor hit it on top of the nail on top of the head. I mean, upwards of over $10 million we will include in the future budget that we'll be submitting, because, as I said earlier, budget documents are policy statements, and that really demonstrates the mayor's desire to focus and maintain public safety. And our inclusion of those dollars, as she described, will not slow down any of the hiring. We want to continue to bolster that and get as many officers as we possibly can till we have a fully manned police force. But in the same way, to be prudent with those dollars, we're also evaluating exactly how those resources are deployed so that we're not just doing the same thing over and over again and throwing more money at a situation without at least challenging the status quo on the way policing is happening, both in New Orleans and the rest of the country. It's time that under the mayor's leadership, that we are really uncovering exactly where is the best resources to be able to place those dollars for our police department, certainly so that we can make some discernible change to our violent crime, our property crime, our traffic crime, all of the above. So we're not just adding money, we're adding strategies and important measures in conjunction with the police department so that it's definitively different.
Accountability.
Accountability.
It matters, yeah.
It absolutely does. We're going to go into our next question. Mayor Cantrell, you vowed to eliminate traffic cameras. However, the money that comes in from them funds many of our projects and initiatives. What is your plan to make up for this loss of money if you remove the cameras?
Well, actually, I believe we have a great strategy in place. Now, we have over 5 options. Gilbert has done just a yeoman's job of digging into this issue, because it is not only something that I committed to on the campaign trail, but it is something that I know is an extra burden on people. So we're looking for balance here. And so we will be recommending one of these 5 options to the New Orleans City Council, baked into our budget, to where we will be able to eliminate some, as well as continue the funding sources that are needed for programming and initiatives. So I'm not feeling stressed about it at all. I think that we'll be able to do it. Gilbert?
And I'm here to make sure that happens. Absolutely. I think the mayor's described a phased out approach, and we're trying to take and tackle just that. Overall, though, I think as a city government, and as we evaluate, it's really not the best way to balance your budget on fines and fees. I think there's an equity issue there that sometimes goes overlooked. Usually governments, when you're balancing and relying on fines and fees, excessive fees, you're not doing the best service, because then you're requiring this cycle of fines and fees to be able to make your government run. And that has been a discussion topic across the country on how governments can especially city governments and courts and others can veer away from that same process. So absent of the campaign issue, it's a good and positive way to be building a budget and lean off those fines and fees. And yes, as the mayor said, we are certainly going to focus on making sure that we are accommodating the public safety need, but still balancing the budget accordingly. And that's on the revenue and the expenditure side. I know there's going to be much more asked than we have resources, and that's why we're being so prudent, pragmatic, and certainly deliberate on how we're funding this budget.
Well, I think you made a lot of people very excited when you answered that question. We're going to roll into our next one. Are the funds that go to adding more crime cameras allocated in the NOPD fund, or is this separate?
So and here's another thing that I've really tried to do as the CAO is we talk a lot about funds. We talk a lot about different pieces of how the money goes, when we all know, and the people watching all know, it's all taxpayer dollars. At the end of the day, it's one bucket. So this question, I'm not sure yet exactly how we're going to include that on the fund or the not fund. It will get done is the end of the day, but certainly trying to pull us away. I'm more into categorical funding, where we look at public safety measures, human services measures, operational measures, instead of breaking out these little funds that have built nest eggs and all of a sudden they're lost in actuarial analysis, and really kind of drawing back to a more transparent process. All future endeavors that we want to start come January, to really focus on how to make the budget more simplistic, but also in the same way make it more representative and accountable to the measures that the mayor certainly wants to push forward for the people.
Results driven. But also, as it relates to these cameras, you do have a line item, for example, in the Homeland Security's budget that also helps provide crime cameras throughout the city. So it fluctuates.
Next question. You talk about green infrastructure. I know we're all about this. We're living with water. In regards to sewage and water board solution, what projects and funding will go towards this idea?
Well, first off, I think it's good to remember that the City of New Orleans, that we participated in a federal grant opportunity for green infrastructure improvements, where we got about $141 million, and leveraging that with additional federal funds. What we have been able to do in a very short period of time is to push those dollars to actual projects. So some that have hit here recently, Gentilly, the district that was created there, we were able to cut our little ribbon on both the, what we call them, the blue corridors, as well as the green. And these are our neutral grounds. And so Gentilly is seeing over about 41 million in investments there. That's along also with Pontilly, even Mid-City. We have broken ground there as well. So we are utilizing resources that have already been allocated towards green infrastructure within the city of New Orleans. But there is still a gap. Now, what I speak to mainly as it relates to the gap is along the lines of the urban water management plan. Now, this is unfunded. The budget to it is about $1.4 billion and an upward of $4 billion. And this is something that we will have to continue to focus on, because we have to ensure that we are holding water, more of it, throughout the city of New Orleans. And it only happens through green infrastructure improvements.
You're almost like you answered it.
Yeah, exactly.
Answered it. So, next question. What programs can be put into place to eliminate abandoned cars throughout the city? You see them here, they are kind of everywhere, but I've noticed they've been getting cleaned up. Clean Up NOLA is doing their thing. But what programs can be put into place to eliminate abandoned cars?
Well, what I would say is what we're focused on. Clean Up NOLA. A part of Clean Up NOLA on the front end is where we're investing over $2 million into this initiative, which speaks to enforcement. And enforcement are along the lines of removing abandoned vehicles from public rights of way. But in addition to that, we will be enforcing abandoned cars that are on private property as well. It is unlawful for any resident to hold an abandoned vehicle for over 45 days. At that point, the city does have the authority to enforce the law for these abandoned vehicles. So with it comes enforcement, and we're beefing up our efforts, putting our money really where our priorities are.
Yeah, I think she nailed it. Enforcement is the only way, and the community has the eyes and ears out there to let us know where we can be enforcing. We started a strategy on major corridors and addressing a lot of the public right-of-ways, but as we dive deeper and deeper into this 4-year strategy of cleaning up NOLA, letting us know exactly where those cars are will ultimately get us to where we want to go as far as diminishing and if not eliminating some of the abandoned cars.
So let us know, because I also have just an idea. I would love to see the city put our young people to work and give them the skills they need to be automotive mechanics. And so as we pick up these abandoned vehicles and if they go unclaimed, then this could potentially create an entrepreneur out of some of our young people to fix those vehicles and have their own car lots.
Absolutely. I'm sure you will love this question, Mayor, because as you drive through the city, this is one of your pet peeves. Graffiti.
Oh, Lord.
Tagging and unwanted trash is left throughout people's neighborhoods. As we go through these questions, we see that Clean Up NOLA is a theme. Mm-hmm. So they would like to know what will be done to address the problem citywide of this graffiti and tagging.
Clean Up NOLA is citywide. That's the beauty of it. It's not just about the French Quarter. It is citywide, and it is targeting areas throughout the city where we have seen graffiti just continuing to just be poured on to our buildings. And so a part of Clean Up NOLA, we will have a graffiti strike team. And again, resources have been deployed to ensure that Clean Up NOLA is not only just a good name, but it is an initiative that will be here for 4 years plus, hopefully.
Plus, yes. Infrastructure. This was a common theme last night on our call, and it's a common theme that we see on social media, infrastructure. Our residents are saying it's a major concern since we seem to flood every time we have a very hard rain. What funds are going towards improving both our streets and our drainage?
This really does speak to the $2 billion of a joint infrastructure between Sewage and Water Board and the Department of Public Works. What I can say right now to the public is that our administration has really put this money to work in a very short period of time. When we got here, it was just money unspent, which is unacceptable. And just between May 7th to date, we have spent over 20% of those dollars, and it's more than our previous administration spent in a 2-year period. So we're putting the money on the street. We have had to even rebid some of the contracts because they were poorly written on the front end. But make no mistake about it, we've built in levels of communication. We've broken down the silos that existed between Sewage and Water Board and DPW, but we're moving these projects, which will address both streets and drainage in our city.
You know, exactly like the mayor said, what we started talking about as far as the $1.1 billion on the operating budget, what we're talking about here is a capital budget, and that's totally different than what we're talking about, but also as important as the mayor discussed. And she's also directed and ordered the team to revamp our capital budget, which deals with infrastructure, some of the vertical and subsurface work that needs to be done throughout the city of New Orleans, and really capitalizing and making sure those projects that need to be done are prioritized. We have the project team available to deploy those resources, and then certainly holding those resources directly into the projects needed to be finished or built, and prioritizing with new resources coming on board. So we're having a revolving fund of sorts to make sure that our capital dollars are spent as efficiently and effectively as our operating dollars, because 2 pots of money, both working toward the same project, can really leverage the opportunities we have to address some very long-standing needs the city has. In most cities, you have some thought and level of unpredictability. It's extraordinary in New Orleans, where you really have to think about the unpredictable to ensure that you're being able to manage on a day-to-day basis.
And last but not least, but one of our more important questions about our youth.
Yes.
Our youth are participating in more and more criminal behavior. What programs or initiatives are going towards addressing the problems of our children?
Yeah, well, it's a level investment that has to incur. On the front end, it is truly re-engineering the New Orleans Recreation Department Commission. North Sea is vital as it relates to meeting the needs of our young people, not just through recreation, but social programs as well. In addition to that, we have the first ever Mayor's Office of Youth and Families, breaking down the silos that relates to even public assets, whether it's our library, North Sea. We are with the health department as well, I mentioned our libraries, but we're wanting to ensure that we're leveraging all these resources to meet the needs of our families and, of course, our young people. We see every day more and more of our young folks are participating in gun violence, armed robberies through the roof. Last week, arrested 2 12-year-olds and a 15-year-old. We also understand the matters that are happening in homes that's spilling out into our community. So it's something that we all have to own and address, but just know that we're really focused on it. We have a youth study center, which is our juvenile detention center. And we are, again, revamping that. We're searching for new leadership there, building in effective training that our employees there say they desperately need, and also providing our young people with the social services, the mental health services that they need that often spill over to their families. So it's a lot that needs to be done, and we're focused on that. Anything to add, Gilbert?
You know, poverty has a cost.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that in a city like this. What we show on our police department, what we show in all our other public safety agencies, there's a significant cost. So when we talk about this, I know the mayor's been banging her fist on economic development and economic development plans. giving the opportunities for jobs and job opportunities for those that are underemployed or not employed can really help the criminal element, especially when the youth, if they're aspiring to something and they're working towards something, we can certainly have the opportunity to at least create the environment and then ask the private sector to help us engage these youth that are acting in this criminal behavior, because it's not only a cost to the city, it's a cost to the taxpayers. One way or the other, whether you're looking at enforcement or whether you're looking at property or violent crime. So it's going to be a cycle unless we address it. I think the mayor has a great plan and idea when it comes to the economic development focus, as well as the socioeconomic support systems that some of these children need. And most of the folks that we deal with are parents, so there's always a soft heart when it comes to the children and what we can do to prioritize them.
Yeah, and we recently asked parents, and speaking directly to our parents and our guardians, that now we have set up through 311 that parents can call and let us know if they are in need of social services or resources to meet the needs of their young people. If they feel like they can't manage them. I got a call yesterday from a parent who says that she just cannot for some reason, reach her 12-year-old. And so we're trying to meet her again where she is and align them with behavioral health services, and even clergy that she's requested to come speak with her son. So this is very important, and we're going to keep a focus on it. But Gilbert touched a good point on the economic development side. Since we've been here, we've also had to strengthen the leadership of Job One, and that is really the front door of all of our people, young and old and middle-aged, who are looking for job opportunities in the city of New Orleans. And when they would interact with Job One or get to that front door, they felt like they would be met with attitude and as if they're coming with their problems, and didn't feel like they were met with empathy and compassion, and really people who wanted to get them in line with training opportunities. So I'm very excited about new leadership there through Job One. Our director, Sune Villavaso, has gone out of her way, to again take people and get them connected to job opportunities. And absolutely, the youth are a focus. I've also reworked the mayoral fellowship program looking to 2019. So we will be providing more internship programs to our young people working right here in City Hall.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been so educational. I know for myself, and I'm sure the residents who are watching. And I do want to remind them that you can participate in this Tell Cantrell initiative. You can text City of Yes to 504-608-5441. That is 504-608-5441. Text City of Yes. And Mayor Cantrell, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I just want to say thank you again for joining us. This will continue throughout our tenure here at City Hall, and we just want to be accessible, and we want to hear what what your needs are and respond accordingly, but get you the results that you're looking for. And so with the budget, we're putting our money where our priorities are, and we've gone through many of them today. And I just want to say just thank you, and hopefully today you have the confidence that I have in our team and in our leadership and in our CAO, Mr. Gilbert Montaño. And I just thank you, Gilbert, for participating as well.
Thank you so much.